What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got to talk about Marathon. This really, I would say, is the big news of the day in the gaming industry, and it's delayed indefinitely. That's the big news there. But no, I mean, they went into a lot of detail, and they talk about a lot of the stuff that they want to improve upon, and we'll read some of that in this video. But they say, they don't give a date, and they say, we'll circle back basically in the fall with more updates. So there is, the way that they say it, and, not giving a date, right? Like literally just saying, okay, it's pushed, and you're adding all of this stuff is great. Really, to me, I think means that this game is going to be a while. I don't think this is a game that is taking a month. You remember, like, The Last was Part 2 back in the day, and I think Ghost of Tsushima too, but delayed like a month. This, I don't think this game is coming out in 2025. Not that it necessarily should, right? These are games that you either come out when you're really ready and when your optimism is at an all-time high, or you just, I guess, settle for the game being a complete failure. Because I really think, to a lot of people, that this game it was not going to catch on. I think you see people that are kind of more into it than even I am, that specialize in this genre, that have said, like, it's not ready. You are not going to catch people with this game and hold them. And that's the failure that's just waiting to happen, right? So looking at their blog post, they say the immediate focus areas will be upping the survival game, which is more challenging and engaging AI encounters, more rewarding runs with new types of loot and dynamic events, making combat more tense and strategic, doubling down on the Marathon universe, which is increased visual fidelity, more narrative and environmental storytelling to discover and interact with, and a darker tone that delivers on the themes of the original trilogy, adding more social experiences, a better player experience for solo/duos, and proximity chat, so social stories can come to life. So, again, like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, to me, a lot of that stuff doesn't mean much, and this was never a game that was, like, fully up my alley to begin with. I've always been very honest about that. It's a game that's just got so much, conversation around it. I want to be a part of it, and, I want to see where this goes. I want to see how this story ends, whether or not I check it out, you know what I mean? And the one thing I will say is, like, a takeaway, even though a lot of those things, don't mean too much to me, is, like, I think those are rather substantial. So, like, proximity chat, that's something I think technical that just takes a little bit of time, right? But some of those, like the first kind of two, sections of bullet points, like, those are a lot of the feel and the like the way the game operates. You know what I mean? Like, the way you're actually going to play the game is going to have to change, and that's not something you do in 2 weeks. Now, another thing too is, like, well, the game was supposed to come out in 3 months, so they were probably getting down to, like, crunch time. Now it's like, do you let up on that, right? Because now all the improvements you want to make. You're not going towards that hard deadline. And to be honest with you, another way of interpreting the no release date is that, and this, I honestly feel like this would kind of be okay, is that they just don't want to even have one in their own heads. Now, these corporations and Bungie, and the way that I assume Sony doesn't trust them anymore, right? I'm sure they have pitched a kind of hard release date internally, but they might not have, or maybe it's flexible. I think the best thing, and something that just I don't think happens all that much in the industry, is, like, make the game, finish the game, change what you want to change, and then when you feel is really the right time, that's when you can give the date, so you don't need a date right now. Right now, they might be planning on January, they might be planning on February, but, in an ideal world, it would be solve these issues as you're getting towards the end of that, then you definitively have a date. So we'll see if it does anything. Oftentimes, I'll say this, I guess, in a negative, more pessimistic way. The thing that is tough, and I mean, we saw this, honestly, though, we saw this with, like, Suicide Squad and stuff. Now, maybe this is a little bit different, because one thing I will say is you can't radically change anything when you're this far in, okay? We've learned that. I mean, people that know, you know what I mean? When you are this close and when you are this far into a game, the core of what makes the game what the game is, you are not radically shifting it. Remember, and I mean, the example with Suicide Squad is that game was delayed a year, right? And in that time, so many people, not myself, I actually cautioned against it. You're not changing that game from some live servicey, whatever the heck it was, to say like the Arkham single player types. You're not doing it. The only thing you can really do is refine what you have. You can't radically pivot. We've seen things like Dragon Age the Veilguard of what happens when you try to radically pivot, and that wasn't even like 5-6 years in. That was like 2 years in. They tried to radically pivot, and they couldn't even do that right. So it's like, that's just the way it is. So I mean, is it different here? It's slightly different because the game is what it is, and it just needs more time. It just needs more of it. So it is different. I will give them that, where it's like you're not radically trying to change. I mean, like you might have to in like a parallel universe, right? Like at the end of the day, this game, like, and I think I said this on Twitter, like the game might still fail. Like this none of this stuff is possible that it could not work. You know what I mean? Like it's what this game is what the game is, and ultimately that's going to come through or not. Now the things you can do now is help it. You can help it. You can do all of the stuff that they did in those bullet points, and you can add to it, and you can make sure, as I said earlier, it's just like the best form of itself, that you feel the most confident of the game. Now, you can be extremely confident on something and fail miserably, okay? Or a game, you can feel very confident, and it could be terrible. Just being confident does not mean that it's incredible, but it is something, So to have the belief that this game is as like formed as possible, that's what you want. It might still not matter. To be honest with you, my very early prediction is that it won't matter. It's like saying like fair game money symbol. That game is like, you could change it. You can tinker around with it however you want. Do I think it's going to result in the end product changing? No. Or not product. Maybe it will actually do the product result. And that's the thing with Marathon. You want the product to be as, good as you can be and as formed as it can be. But the result might not change. The result could be people still don't care. So that's the thing that we just don't know yet. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.